Welcome to the Biometric Update Podcast. I'm your host, Joel McConvey. This is our 50th episode of the podcast. That means we've been talking about biometrics here for over a year, chatting with some of the leading voices in the sector, and figuring out how to make a podcast. To celebrate, we've put together a special episode that looks back at some of the topics we've covered and asks what's changed. There's lots of talk in this industry about the pace of change. And while change is a constant, it's true that in the last year and a half or so, things have accelerated toward a future in which AI is central to our economy. Meanwhile, some fraud threats remain a problem, and some are getting worse. Our first guest in April 2025 was Pindrop CEO Vijay Balasubramanian. We talked about one of the most prevalent fraud threats of the past 15 months, deepfakes.
There's a very famous case of a finance worker wiring $25 million, thinking he was talking to his CFO and senior leaders, but was actually talking to a deep fake. We're also seeing it in hiring. So candidates that are showing up that are deep fakes, trying to land a job, and they have all kinds of reasons why they're doing it. So we're seeing it in every single walk, at the consumer, at the enterprise level, when you're a customer of the enterprise, as well as when you're an employee. I think the big takeaway is, for us, deep fakes are here. They're going to affect every facet of your life because, if you think about deep fakes, they've fundamentally broken trust in all online communities, right? They've broken trust in commerce because you don't know whether you're talking to Joel or you're talking to a deep fake of Joel. They've broken trust in media, right? Like, is it Tom Hanks that was selling dental plan ads or, something else? So you can't trust the media, be it social media or news media. So there's a lot of disinformation. And you can't trust communications, right? Like, be it you as an elder citizen getting a call, thinking it's your grandkid, or you getting on a Zoom call, thinking you're getting on the call with your CFO or a senior manager. Deepfakes have fundamentally broken commerce, media, and communications. Those are, three of the biggest pillars in the online world. And I don't know the last time something has broken all three of them in one fell swoop.
Deepfakes continue to be a major problem, as organizations see fake employees show up during onboarding and fake CEOs requesting millions in fraudulent transfers. We were talking about it as recently as this spring in episode 37, when Deepankar Saxena from Socure joined us to talk about fraud in the hiring pipeline.
So one thing we are seeing a lot is how AI is being used to create fake resumes. You can actually go to a LinkedIn profile, find all the information about the person, put this in an LLM, put a job description in the LLM so that it gives you the exact skills that would pass through the basic screening checks of resumes. So that's one thing we are seeing a lot. Second, obviously, you can create these fake identities, the synthetic identities. You can steal identities from someone's LinkedIn profile. We have seen the headshot from the LinkedIn actually being in the resume as well. So everything seems actually perfect. But when you start interviewing, you realize this is not the same person. And with the AI, you cannot do it at scale. So you don't have to think about making one resume. You are making 500 resumes at a time with all the job applications of 50 different companies. And you can now create agents to just apply to them. You don't actually have to go to each website to apply. You can just make an agent which just goes to all these websites, clicks a button, uploads resumes, fill in all the information, and just apply that.
Another topic of major concern over the past 20 months or so has been the shifting market for biometric age assurance tools, as regulators slap age restrictions on social media and adult content sites. Major laws have passed, standards have been published, and private providers have worked to keep up, as debates roil over where to put age checks in the stack, which party is liable, where credentials should live, and what actually works. Here's Tony Allen, Chief Executive of the Age Check Certification Scheme, on seismic shifts in the age assurance space.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we did the technology trial where we looked at all the possible opportunities that are there. I think the conclusion of that trial was that age assurance can be done. There is lots of evidence to demonstrate how it can be done. There are lots of examples of how that is being done. It is being done. There are things there. And we're now moving on to, yes, it can be done, but is it being done well is probably where we're at. You've got an interesting political dichotomy going on in Australia, because you've got, yes, it can be done. All the social media platforms know it can be done. All of them have got the capability and facility to know to do it. They'd all had these tools plugged in. They weren't necessarily using them, but they had them plugged in, so they knew that they could do it. Do they really want to do it? And do they really want to come up with a situation where it was so easy for them to do that everyone goes, well, we'll do that as well? So they're now fighting against global contagion from Australia, and we've already seen that in the European Union and some US states as well. Well, if Australia can do it, why can't we?
AI may be the biggest disruptor the tech industry has ever seen. While generative AI has spurred the deepfake deluge, the most recent leap has been in the application of AI agents. Inviting autonomous agents into ecosystems opens up a whole Pandora's box of questions about authentication, accountability, and, in the case of Concordium CEO Boris Borobilowitsky, who dropped by in April of this year, how to cook a steak.
AI agents can transact now, right? And it's happening at an exponential rate. But I don't see there as being a mechanism, if you abstract it away from the application layer, of them being held accountable. So without identity, autonomous action is just autonomous risk, if you want to put it in different words. So the verification in many ways is the complete and utter unlock here. So while everybody is talking about AI agents, in my opinion, in our opinion, nobody is really asking the right question. It's not what an agent can do. It's more about how do we know who is responsible when they do it. So the verification side of things here, in whichever shape or form you implement it, of course, unlocks this. And what matters, what in my opinion kind of matters the most here, is that the agentic economy is forming at a rate which I think is completely underestimated by people. From you waking up in the morning saying, like, I would fancy a steak today. So I'm going to just chat when I wake up in the morning, chat with my chef agent. First and foremost, what do we still have in the fridge? I would like to have some veg and a steak. Yeah, well, I suggest this. Steak is not in the house. Let me quickly chat to the ordering agent on Deliveroo. Well, then the wealth agent rocks up and says, like, mate, you had a big lunch on the weekend with friends and you paid the bill. If you want steak, it's not going to be fillet. It's going to be a rump steak, and it's not 250 grams. It's 180, because otherwise you run out of the spending limit for the rest of the... Yeah, but this is closer than people think.
Identity is emerging as the governance layer for agentic AI. Identity verification as a single transaction, an old-school ID check, has transformed into an infrastructure layer undergirding the global economy, or at least the one AI firms are hoping will emerge. And new networks of power are emerging. For one, the EU Digital Identity Wallet scheme is taking shape. Last August, Steve Panifer of FIME Labs weighed in on the incoming wallet regulation.
I think the starting point is really to just talk about what the European Union is trying to do. They've set up this really ambitious program, and it's for good reason, So I think there are perhaps many things you could point to, but perhaps the biggest thing of all is what happened during COVID, when many of us discovered that actually we didn't have the identity tools we needed to be able to interact in a remote environment, and that caused lots of pain points, lots of fraud. And so out of COVID, okay, we're now not doing quite as much stuff remotely, but the benefit of doing things remotely was made very apparent. And so actually during that period of time, the European Commission had a consultation, and they decided to revisit the identity legislation, the IDAS 1, and come up with the IDAS 2. And the approach that they've taken is to be quite prescriptive and actually to define, not to say we want to regulate some technologies that's out there, actually define what the technology is and kind of create a whole ecosystem. And the reason they're doing that is not just because they're like a big engineering project. They're doing it to address a need, which is in Europe, they're trying to create or promote and increase the European-wide digital economy. How can people carry out their day-to-day business, to access services, to do business across the whole of Europe in a single economy, a single drawn-up economy, without friction, with better privacy protections, reducing fraud, better security? How do you do that? Because the tools that we have today don't enable us to achieve that purpose. And they've put in place some very aggressive timeframes. So the program's been up and running for, I forget how long, 2 or 3 years, but they're saying we want member states, and actually the other thing that they're doing is this is not an option, they're actually mandating certain things. The member states are mandated to make wallets available to their citizens and to businesses within the member states by the end of next year, December 26th. And if you think it's not just about building a wallet, it's building a wallet and having it work within that kind of emerging ecosystem. There's a lot that needs to be done. Now, I think they've been deliberately aggressive because they want to push this forward. This is a proper, genuine kind of investment and push. Now, at the moment, no one's blinking, right? So. But at some point, I think someone's going to have to blink, because from where I sit, I think it's highly unlikely that everything will be in place by the end of next year. But I think, what will happen is keeping the pressure on, putting funding into large-scale pilots. All of this is helping to really push the investment along, get people motivated. And it may well be that through next year we'll see, I don't know exactly what, perhaps it'll be more of a pilot launch, a softer launch, rather than like the hard launch. Everyone's going to be ready, because everyone won't be ready, right? But I think it's fascinating in time, really, really pushing hard to do something that's really quite transformational.
Finally, in Africa, innovation, buy-in, and a lack of legacy infrastructure to hinder efforts is making digital transformation happen faster than elsewhere. Claire Ma of Sign, who visited in May, explains how Africa is positioning itself to be a global leader on digital identity.
Is there a scenario where we see Africa or other entities in the global south leading on digital identity globally?
I think it's still, the honest answer will still separate in 2 layers. The first one is I was talking on in terms of legislative and architectural opportunity, where African countries are ahead, as previously they don't have maybe like a more messy system as some of the other countries. So there's definitely more opportunities in African countries. And also we see that there are great examples already. We have the, what's that called? The modular open source ID platform that was built in Bangalore, and now I think about like 9 or 10 countries already have adopted this. And we also see Ghana, right? I think I talk about that in News Ghana, where Ghana Card have reached about like 20 million people, and I think around 90% of the population. And I also know that Rwanda raised from World Bank about the digital ID system next year. So I definitely see harder push from these African countries on digital ID initiative. I believe they will move much faster than other countries trying to transform this system.
The world of identity really is changing pretty fast. From age assurance to AI agents, movements and technologies continue to evolve, and we discover new benefits and challenges of being ever more digital. That's why we're here. Thanks for listening as we took a moment to reflect. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a few changes of our own. Meanwhile, there's always new reporting, insights, and analysis on biometrics and digital identity at www.biometricupdate.com.